Welcome to the Breath of Fresh Air Dental Podcast. Whether you're a seasoned practice owner, a new dentist, or an office manager looking to enhance your skills, this podcast is for you. Our friendly and knowledgeable hosts are here to answer your burning questions, address common pain points, and provide practical solutions to help you overcome any obstacles you may face. Our hosts, Amanda Demora and Sarah Hamlin, bring to the table lengthy careers in both clinical dentistry and practice administration. They now preside as the CEO and COO of Essential Dental Services.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Breath of Fresh Air podcast. I'm Amanda Demora.
And I'm Sarah Hamlin.
Today, we're going to be talking about professional growth for practice managers, what this has meant to us over the years, and hopefully some tips and tricks to send you where you want to go on your career and also maybe help you decide where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So,
a little bit of backstory on this episode and kind of why we were inspired to talk about it. We wanted to share both of our stories about starting out in dentistry, moving to office management, and then now where we are and how we kind of got here. So I will start. I actually, out of college, was working in hospitality, so in hotels, and I did not love the hours. As a front desk, front office kind of manager at a hotel, you're required often to be there crazy hours, or you're getting phone calls at crazy hours about things that happen. And I had just decided pretty quickly that that wasn't what I wanted to be doing. So one of my friends was working in a dental office at the time, and she said, "We've got openings here. You should come work here at the front." So I took a position, and hours in dental do tend to be a little bit better than hours in hotels. So that was great. Got a bunch of on-the-job training at that office, which was a larger multi-location, multi-doc practice. And then from there, kind of bounced around to a couple of different practices, kind of just getting a feel for what size office and what type office I enjoyed working in and which I didn't. And then at some point ended up moving to an office management role, which is where I ended my clinical work, was as an office manager for about 5 years. I was in that role. And now here I am, obviously working for and with Amanda, still in dental, still working with front office and billing and all of that, but in a different capacity, not in clinical, not patient facing. And as much as I love interacting with patients, I am not too sad to be losing that part of the position. It's nice to get a little bit of a break from that. I have a hard time personally with being on all the time and having to really be not that I'm not bubbly. Amanda, would you say I'm not bubbly? You know what I'm trying to say here? It's a big energy drain, as I'm sure most of you know, to be patient facing all of the time. And so being able to put my energies towards something else feels good to me instead of having to put that energy into being patient facing. That sounds like a better way to say that.
So my backstory is, I want to try to keep it as short as I can. But I started working at a dental office when I was 19. I've probably told this story before on the podcast, but I was in college. I was going into dental hygiene school. I took a front office job that I just thought was going to, get my foot in the door for later when I was a hygienist. And while I was there, I was on the job training to be a dental assistant as well, which I did and I loved. But so over the years after I kind of realized hygiene is not for me. I realized that quickly. So after college, I definitely went back more towards the front office route. And I loved insurance. I loved solving insurance puzzles. I just loved the financial aspect. So that was really where my heart was. And this was a long time ago now. So when I'm thinking back of being, let's say, in my early 20s or mid 20s, it was just my aspirations were to be a practice manager because I wasn't at that time. And I kind of just thought, I want to be a practice manager. And once I'm there, that's going to be it. And that's just going to be what I do until I retire at age 65. Which is totally, and if that is someone's route, that's great. The office that I started working at when I was 19, I still am involved with to this day, not in a 40-hour-a-week sense like I used to be, but I think I'll always have my little paws in there because it's an amazing office with wonderful doctors and staff that are like my family. I grew up there quite literally. So I would be very proud to be the practice manager there until I'm 65, but but life has taken me other places now as well. So that is a little bit of our backstory, and I think as we go along into this, we will get into, how we met, what career growth has looked like for us over the years, when things kind of shifted for us, or when we realized we wanted something else or we wanted more. So this is a fun one, and we've actually been planning this podcast for quite a while, and I kind of kept putting it off, and I was driving Sarah a little bit crazy because it would be on our agenda for the week, and then I would change it, and she'd be like, "Did you change what we're talking about tomorrow?" And I would say yes, because I really wanted to be able to think about this and give everyone kind of good quality advice. And have it be very personal too, because I feel like these are very personal stories to us and our company and the brand. And so wanted to be able to deliver fire.
No pressure now. Oh, gosh.
Yeah. I don't know if it will be fire, but all right. So
as the kids say.
Yeah. Next, so kind of want to discuss what the role of a dental office manager even is. And I'll kind of let Sarah start with this because it can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different offices.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's a hard thing for us to nail down because every office's office manager is going to look a little bit different. There's certainly offices where the office manager is essentially a extension of the front desk, still doing front desk duties, still helping out where needed, or, doing front desk duties daily, like they're in charge of insurance posting or they're in charge of treatment planning, all of that kind of stuff. And they don't do so much like practice management stuff in the realm of like not doing payroll or not helping with hiring or not helping with paying bills, those kinds of things. So there's like a front desk, like office staff management portion of it. There's also a business management kind of practice management portion, I think. And a lot of it just depends on your doctor or doctors and what they want to be involved in or don't want to be involved in, probably more likely. And so the position is just going to look a little bit different, I think, in every office. But that is what makes office management interesting. What can also make office management a great place for growth, because there is so much room for expanding your skills and expanding your knowledge into things beyond your practice management software and getting a patient in and out the door. The thing that I have noticed over the years in this position is that the biggest transition or the biggest hurdle, I think, for office managers going from like an admin role or even a dental assisting role into an office management role, the biggest transition, the hardest thing to tackle is the second word in office management, because oftentimes management comes with managing people, of course, and handling people, handling situations that come up between people, meaning between staff and patients or between staff members. All of those kinds of things can be, in my opinion, the trickiest and most difficult part of office management. I think it's a very natural thing for staff to think, well, I love dentistry. I really know how to get a patient to have the best experience when they're in our office. I'm really fluent in our practice management software. So therefore, I would be a great office manager. And I think there's a lot more to think about when you're considering throwing your hat in the ring for being an office manager, because that whole people component is a really big part of it. And I think people underestimate that when they decide that they want to kind of go the office management route.
Right. For me, that was an interesting transition at my office. So I had been there, for years, and all of a sudden was, quote unquote, promoted to practice manager. And there was definitely an immediate shift because here I was kind of in the trenches with everyone else and, friends with all the staff. And now I was their boss. And that was just a very interesting juxtaposition for me because I was younger than most of them. So it was a little learning curve for me to figure out how to manage people who were, not, I mean, at least double my age.
Mm-hmm.
And also be taken seriously. And learning to manage people was also an adjustment too. And, you kind of become not like a sounding board, but, people just kind of coming to you every day, depending on how big your office was. This was a big office, but, you just get all the crap all day. You just
Yep.
get all the complaints. I call it complaint culture. That was something we worked on a lot to kind of get people out of that mindset. That was hard for me because I'm not really a complainer by nature. So hearing complaints all day long drove me a little nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But that is something to really, really think about is, do I want to manage people? And what is my management style? And is that something I'm really going to like? And trust me, there were many, many, many days where I kind of joked to myself, but like maybe not. Like, why did I want to take this role
Yep.
again? Like, it was so much better when I was, the insurance coordinator and came in and posted my checks and went home. I think there was a little bit more to it than that. But yeah, I mean, those thoughts crossed my mind.
I think that's definitely a part of it too, is, there's another level of responsibility. There's another level of expectation on you to be available. If you're wanting an early morning text about a staff member being out and then scrambling before you're even dressed to figure out how to get the schedule covered, then office management is for you.
It wasn't a day unless I was getting a text from someone.
Yep.
Like I said, big
Yep.
office. There's always someone out.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yes, it would be like dragging yourself over to the computer to cancel someone.
Mm-hmm.
Man, make phone calls. Just craziness. Try to get someone to come in and cover.
Yep. So I think, in that regard, I think that office management is for sure the next step in career growth from like a treatment coordinator and insurance coordinator position. But it is definitely you're growing, but growing in a real different direction. And I think having some self-awareness, I always kind of harp on that in all of our episodes, but self-awareness to say like, is that really what I want? And is that going to, fulfill me? Is that the life that I want? Is that the added stress that I want? Do I have the energy to pump into that? Like really taking those kinds of things into consideration is a really important part in this process. Because I think a lot of people kind of just say, yeah, that's the next step. That's what I want to do, more money, but also more responsibility. So
Yes.
Definitely just, and a lot of with growth, almost in any career in any aspect, that is the case. More, probably higher pay, probably higher reward, but also probably more work and probably more responsibility. So just be thinking of that when you're deciding where you want to grow.
Right. Well, I was a practice manager. I had a couple new admin team members start at the office, and they were practice managers before. And I remember thinking, why do they, want to take a step down? I was a little nervous. They were going to, step on my toes a little bit and try to like interject, which they didn't. And that was fantastic. But they were both kind of like, yep, no thanks. Don't, I don't envy your seat. I don't want to do that again. I just want to go back to, being a insurance coordinator or just admin team member, all around jack of all trades at the front. And that was better for their life. And even though it was less pay, they were happier. So
and I think exactly to tie into that too, the other important thing that I would stress in this episode too is if none of these tips or none of this guidance feels good to you or feels appealing to you, that is a-okay. Find a different aspect of your life to grow in. If career growth or where you're at isn't like, that's an ambition that's not high on your list, that's all right. Find a different aspect of your life to grow and get better at gardening, put some energy into your cooking.
How
That's
did you
okay.
know I was going to say that? How did you know I was going to say take up gardening?
But I think because I think in today's society too, we're just all about climb that ladder, get that money, move to the next thing. What's next? How can I get better? How can I get a better title? Blah, blah, blah. And that hustle, what are they calling it these days? Hustle something. I can't think of the
mentality?
word. Yes, something like that.
Is that
grind mentality or something?
Oh,
yeah, I think you're right. We're on it. We're hip. We're cool. that messaging that we're getting fed from society is just it can be so damaging. So I don't want anybody to listen to this and think that we're sitting here trying to tell you to put your foot on the gas pedal for your career. I mean, if that's what you want, then yes, I am behind you 100% and happy to help guide you in the right direction for that. But if that's not what you want, also know that that's okay. Not everybody's cut out for office management or for moving away from clinical into something else, and some people are and some people aren't, and all of that's okay. I think the important part of it is just finding a way to grow and learn in some aspect of your life, but just figure out what aspect that is and where you want to put your energy.
So transitioning over to kind of talking about, you already are a practice manager and you're thinking, what's next? How do I grow? I'm looking for more. And I think that can be in a few different outlets and a few different ways. And also why it's important. So the importance of career growth, as we've talked about before many times, this is an ever evolving industry. So you have to grow in order to not be left behind. I've been saying this a lot about ChatGPT too. If you're not on ChatGPT or if you're not figuring out like how to use it, like you're going to be left behind.
But it's the same, and the same for any like new technology related to dental. Like if you're not using text to pay or you don't have a bill pay option on your website, you are going to be left in the dust. So staying on top of those new things that are coming out and knowing what options you have for growing the practice and growing yourself, those are all, at some point you're just going to be a dinosaur in the field if you don't stay on top of those things a little bit.
I saw 2 posts yesterday about people mailing paper claims, and that scared me to death.
Yikes.
But career growth and development can also lead to more satisfaction in the workplace and just in life. I think as I was taking classes, perfecting my craft, just getting more knowledgeable in the entire realm of office management, I was getting more confident. And then that just correlates to being happier. At the end, or, even now, I know I said I'm still involved with my beloved practice, but I truly feel like I can absolutely handle anything that is thrown at me. And if I don't know the answer, maybe right at that second, I'm confident I can figure it out very quickly or have the resources to do so. And that was a very calming feeling to get to the point where you don't feel like you're floundering. You feel like you can help anyone who needs help. So, but that took years and years of continuing education and working on my skills and reading books and listening to podcasts. And I certainly still don't know everything at this point, but I'm still a lifelong learner. So
yeah, and I think an important part of growth and a good sign of growth and maturity in people in management positions too is also being able to acknowledge when you don't know what you don't know. Knowing your limits and knowing your boundaries to be able to say, I don't know the answer to that question, but I will find out for you. That is a really a skill that not a lot of people possess right off the bat, because you want to be seen, as a knowledgeable, smart, savvy person in your role, and it can be hard to admit when you don't know something. So I think that's a good sign of a good manager and somebody who's self-aware. Again, not that can't leave that alone, but somebody who's self-aware and also somebody who's just, got the experience to know, oh yeah, that's outside my realm of firm knowledge, but I can definitely, exactly like you said, find the resources, or I know exactly the resource that I can reach out to for more information on that.
So I think maybe our listeners will want to hear this, and it's a question I see arise a lot, and that is if you are wanting to maybe get out of practice management, where can you go from there? What are some other avenues you can explore with your background and skills? So I wanted to pick your brain a little bit there
Mm.
because
You know,
you've made the leap.
yes. And I made the leap, just completely out of coincidence, really.
Right. We're
I
going to
mean,
get to that.
yeah, yes, we'll get to that part of the story. But I think, I had been kind of thinking about this trajectory and thinking about this process for a while. For me, I am somebody who, and maybe this is society having pumped this into my head, but career growth has always been important to me. I am always kind of striving to better myself, and exactly like you said, a lifelong learner. I'm always wanting to educate and grow and learn new things. I'm a very curious person by nature. Everybody I think that's ever worked with me will tell you this. Like, if there's a question that pops into my head, I'm not saying, I wonder why this works, and then just like wondering about it for forever. Like, no, I'm on Google immediately and I'm finding the answer to that question. The door lock needs changed on the back door at the office. Guess who's pulling up a YouTube video and changing the door lock? That's just kind of always been my mentality for things like that. So I had been kind of thinking, realizing that clinical work, like we talked about previously, was just kind of an energy drain for me, and trying to figure out like what that meant. So when I was in that position, I think I was thinking, okay, what other aspects of dentistry can I be involved in that are going to use my dentistry knowledge and experience that aren't in a clinical facing role? So for me, a lot of that was thinking like, do I want to switch into something more insurance related, like working for an insurance company in some aspect? Working, claims processing. Like, I just immediately started to think in all of the auxiliary companies that a dental office works with or is involved in. So some like patient communication companies and softwares, like all of that was kind of rolling around in my brain as ways to stay in dentistry, but not in an office. So I think, give that some thought. What aspect of dentistry or the dental office process is appealing to you? Which part do you enjoy the most? Which part do you enjoy the least? And then kind of let that guide you in where you want to go and where you want to continue growing, because there's a lot of options that are related to dentistry, dental adjacent, but not in a dental office.
Absolutely. I think that's kind of an underestimated or maybe not thought of very often avenue is there are a ton of dental related companies out there. And I definitely know of people who kind of made that leap. They're an office manager. They actually went to school for marketing, but they're tired of being an office manager, and then they're working for a dental marketing company.
Mm-hmm.
So a little bit best of both worlds there, getting to combine both your skills. Supply companies. Another route is working for a dental consulting company,
Mm-hmm.
a larger one who has kind of a staff of dental consultants.
Mm-hmm.
If that's something that interests you, and we've seen some others make that leap as well. So I wasn't sure that, being a regional manager, I sort of thought that that was the way that I would eventually go. That thought went right out of my head, but that is another one. If you're someone looking to take on more and kind of different duties and responsibilities, a regional manager is a bit of a shift from a solo practice office manager for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Director of operations of a DSO. I mean, all these, you're definitely going to want to look into what their requirements are, because some of them do have specific requirements and bachelor's degree, things like that. The biggest one I suppose I should talk about is entrepreneurship. So starting
I
your
suppose
own
you should talk about that.
starting your own company. And obviously this is something that I did. And I also have several friends whom came from a dental assisting background and practice management and started their own business as well. So dental recruiting company. dental consulting company, some various other training companies as well, which is just wonderful. I really like to see that. And really, the sky's the limit. I mean, looking back again to my early 20s, I just, that wasn't something I was envisioning at all. Was starting my own company. It sort of happened a little bit by chance, and of course, just kind of snowballed. And it's been a wonderful experience. A lot of hard work. But if you're the type of person that could flourish in that kind of environment, I think deciding on something that you are passionate about is the first step, and kind of going from there for sure.
Yes. And also to kind of jump into that discussion, when Amanda and I first met, I was kind of in the process of thinking that being a business owner and going out on my own and starting my own thing was what I wanted to do. So I had kind of thought that jumping into the consulting realm and going out on my own and starting my own business was the next step for me, and had kind of started the process of that and looking into it. And then Amanda and I bumped into each other at the ADOM conference, and I realized that I didn't really want to do that, actually. I just wanted to be able to work for somebody else who had already done all the hard work to put in that time and effort and energy to get their business started. So thank you, Amanda, for doing the dirty work for me.
All right. So, parlaying off that into networking and mentorship, and how that can be pretty pivotal in your career if you're looking for growth. We've talked before about ADOM, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit again right now. So, ADOM, if you don't know what that is the American Association of Dental Office Management. And this is a national organization for practice managers and admin team as well, and probably some other areas of dentistry too. They are not exclusive. And they have a national organization and also some study groups whom are sort of under their umbrella a little bit. They're independent, but involved with ADOM as well. So I've been a member of ADOM for years and years. I was the vice president of my local chapter last year, and this was a really important organization for me to join in order to grow my career and professionally as well, just in general. So, in terms of networking, I've met some really wonderful and influential people and friends. Now I get to call them friends through this organization. And this is also how Sarah and I met. So, this is kind of just one example of how going to conferences and networking can help you, further your career and get to where you want to go, even though maybe you didn't know you wanted to go there. So,
Exactly.
So a couple years ago, Sarah and I were at the ADOM conference in Scottsdale, beautiful Scottsdale. And we met by chance. and and as soon as we met, we were pretty much inseparable the rest of the trip. We just totally clung together and pretty much talked every day after.
I was just going to say, I'm not sure there's been a day since, maybe one or two that we haven't really connected.
Yes, talked every day since. And I knew that Sarah obviously was a practice manager in her state. And I thought she was way too talented to be doing like insurance verifications for me or anything. But as time went on and we kind of got to talking about her working for Essential Dental Services, the conversation just kind of snowballed, and now it has obviously evolved into her being our COO, which has been fantastic. But I'll kind of let you talk a little bit about that too, and that experience. And
yeah, I mean, I will start this too by saying our story at ADOM is not unique. When I first started with ADOM and, was at the conference or reading materials and stuff, there's loads of people who say exactly this. Like, I met my best friends at this conference or through this group, and, people who really get me, and we go on vacations and stuff now and blah, blah, blah. And I think before I made that connection with Amanda, I would hear those stories and be like, oh, that's nice, like whatever. But Amanda and I are quite literally that exact story. So we're really following the cliche there that, yep, that's exactly what happened to us. Suffice it to say that I was not expecting that to happen when I went to the ADOM conference by any means. I was excited to learn, excited to grow, but I did not expect that I was going to be going there to make a best friend or anything like that. I certainly didn't expect that it was going to change the trajectory of my career in the way that it did, but I'm, eternally grateful that it all worked out the way that it did. And I think that, the world works in mysterious ways, but you have to be willing to put yourself out there if that is the kind of growth and change that you want. Because I will say all of this, our meeting really hinged on a meetup that was facilitated in the little conference Facebook group. And it's very outside my character to reach out to a random person on a Facebook group and agree to go meet them for dinner. But I did it. And I guess there's a reason that the universe was pointing me in that direction. So I think being open to opportunities that you might not have seen coming is an important message here. And being willing to kind of go where the world takes you is important too, being flexible. And also just realizing that maybe what you had in mind is not, I mean, if you have something in mind that you are set on, that's great. But if you're a little bit fluid with it, there's something else might be right around the corner and you just never know. For me, I was already kind of, as we discussed previously, like in the mindset of leaving clinical dentistry. So being able to connect with Amanda and then explore this opportunity was, perfect. That was exactly what I was looking for at that time. So it was all kind of kismet, I think.
I was just going to say kismet.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
So yes, putting yourself out there. Honestly, I didn't consider myself to really be an outgoing type or, same as Sarah said, taking someone up on an offer, a stranger up on an offer to meet for dinner, I would not say was like in my wheelhouse, but, putting yourself out there, that has certainly changed my career a lot. And that's important if that is something that you are looking to do as well.
Yeah. So all of that to say, explore ADOM as an option for sure.
Yes.
I think we also, can't ignore the social media aspect of growth. Be careful about what you're taking in on the social media sites, because everybody fancies themselves an expert. So just be mindful of, the information that you're gathering or whatever from those sites, but they can be a great place for you to be able to connect with other people in your position. And even if you're not, growing from what you're learning on the sites, maybe you're seeing somebody share something that takes you somewhere else and you can, figure out where to go from there. But being open to those on, Facebook is obviously the main one I think that people think about, but don't forget about LinkedIn as kind of a professional connecting platform, Facebook too, and just see, what you can find out there if you're interested in kind of poking around. There's groups upon groups upon groups upon groups of people in dentistry and dental related fields that you can definitely join in and get some insight into things.
I have actually connected with quite a few people whom I never met in person, or maybe I connected with them first on social media like Facebook and LinkedIn, and then I met them later at a conference or something. But I've reached out to a couple people that I just kind of said that I was admiring, or I thought they were offering something interesting, or I thought that they just really had something different about them. And kind of messaged them and said, I would love to chat and connect with you and see, just how we can maybe brainstorm together or whatever it might be.
Yep.
And I've had people reach out to me as well and do that. And I have not come across one person who said no or, ignored me or anything like that. So I think that most people in this industry are pretty darn friendly. And a lot of them have the mindset of us kind of all being in this together. And if you don't, if you don't have that mindset, or if they don't, they're not the person for you to connect with anyway. So,
right. Yep.
Also, I want to talk about kind of finding mentors a little bit. I definitely have a few mentors, And whether, you're reaching out to them saying, "Hey, can you be my mentor?" I mean, for me, it didn't really work like that. They're more so really what I consider friends. And we get together and we brainstorm, and we even some of the people who have been in the dental industry for 30 years are asking questions all the time. And
Mm-hmm.
that is important. You never know it all. So just finding people whom you admire, whom you are trusting to be very knowledgeable, and forming a friendship with them and being able to bounce questions off them and go to them for guidance is really important. And that has helped me a ton as well. People you trust. I have talked about before how once I really transitioned over to the business side of dentistry, so dental related businesses, your eyes open a little bit to the fact that not every single person is extremely trustworthy. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
find people whom you align with and who are giving out messages that you are finding to be honest and truthful and
Mm-hmm.
knowledgeable. So
Yep. Yeah, and I think that, people who are, like I kind of touched on earlier, there's a lot of variation in dentistry from a clinical standpoint too. Like if you are staying in the office, there's a lot of differences in the way that offices are run, the organizational structure of offices. Like if you're looking for a single doc, privately owned practice versus working in a practice that's owned by a DSO, if you're working for the DSO itself in like an organizational capacity, like there's a lot of that's a big scope. So I think finding the office feel that feels right to you too, if you are going to stay in office, find the one that feels good for you, and know that if the one that you're in doesn't feel good, there's probably another office that is going to feel better. And so exploring that as an opportunity for growth, staying in clinical is always an option as well.
absolutely. I think that there is such a wide variety of types of offices out there,
Mm-hmm.
especially these days. And if you I always was sort of able to, if I was kind of feeling unchallenged or whatever it might be, I was always able to go to my doctors. I've already said how wonderful they are and say, I'm looking to do this, or I'm looking to take this on, or I have this new marketing strategy that I really want to baby and grow. They always let me do what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And they were always supportive. And obviously, all of these things were benefiting the practice. That's an important headline to, or something to lead with when approaching them about conversations, is how it's going to benefit the practice. But the right office for you is going to foster your growth and allow you to bring new ideas and nurture them into life. So that was also another way for me to grow in my career and not feel so stagnant.
Yeah. And let's not, we're sitting here talking about relationships and mentors. Like, let's not overlook the relationship that you can and hopefully do have with your doctor as an office
Mm-hmm.
manager, too. That's probably one of the most important relationships that you're going to have in that position. And if it's not a healthy and positive and, potentially nurturing, honestly, on both sides of it, like you're going to be feeding the doctor hopefully good information from an admin side, I would imagine, and maybe from a management side if they're not as involved with the people management part. And they're going to be guiding and helping you, from other aspects. Like hopefully you guys both have strengths that you're bringing to the table, and strengths that are both like encouraged and honored and nurtured, from both sides. There has to be that mutual respect there in order for that relationship to grow anywhere or to be solid. And so once you find that kind of relationship with a doctor, you can tell that that's probably the practice you are going to be in for a bit, or you want to be in for a bit, to have that support and that organizational structure. That's a key factor in this growth.
I couldn't agree with that more. I absolutely attribute all of my, or most of my quote unquote success and being able to start my own business with having my doctors be my mentors. I mean, just they are some of the most hardworking, like smart, kind, compassionate, generous, also funny, just a lot of superlatives that I've ever come across. And being able to witness them in action and watch them lead a team and watch them take care of their patients and staff, I really absorbed that over all of my time there and was able to kind of hone in on those values and be able to turn that into my own company and my own team, and certainly try to do that for our team members now and keep that kind of work ethic. So having doctors whom you think are, or you consider mentors and people you can look up to, is important. I know that they are not all like that, because
Mm-hmm.
we've had experience with some other ones along the way as well, but finding the ones who check those boxes for you, like Sarah said, I think that will tell you right then and there that that's a practice that you might be able to stay in for some time and be happy and
Yeah.
grow.
Well,
Right.
I know. Okay. We got a little long-winded, but that's all right. I like when we touch on topics like this.
All right. Well, that wraps up this week's episode. I hope everyone took out some little pearls of information there and maybe got your wheels spinning.
Yeah, and also too, I want to add in, if you are trying to figure out how to grow, or you're wanting to, just to connect, or I I hate to try to make it seem like I might have some good advice, but maybe I could be a sounding board for you. I would be happy to connect with you, LinkedIn, Facebook, however that may be. Feel free to reach out. I'm sure Amanda would be open to that as well. So if you're out there and you're listening and you're needing some, whatever it is, support, we're happy to be helpful for people.
Absolutely. I say that all the time. Please, reach out to me. I'm happy to chat, give advice, whatever it might be. We will link our social media handles and LinkedIn's and all that stuff in the show notes. And other than that, we will see you guys on the next episode. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.